Hi everyone, we are getting started on our final project for English 1010, and I wanted to help get you started on the right foot with just some basics about research so that you feel confident going into the next project. So I'm actually here on MTSU's homepage, and I wanted to walk you through a few different resources and just help you start thinking about what you're going to incorporate into your next project. So on the homepage, one of the best places to go, of course, is the A to Z index. So I'm going to click there, and I'm actually going to take us to L for library. And if you're not familiar with the library yet, you will be. You'll be using it a lot throughout your college career. So the James E. Walker Library, this is their homepage, and it can really help you find some really good, credible, reliable information for all of your research projects throughout your college career. One of the main things that you need to know about is the Joule search. This is the main search database. You can liken it to something like a Google search, but unlike Google, which will just sort of spit back at you basically what Google wants you to see, this is going to be a little bit more, you're going to have to be very careful with your keywords and your wording. You have to kind of trim the fat, so cut out words that don't matter like that or what or if, and really get down into those fine details of what you are trying to find. So yeah, it's a little bit more challenging in that you have to know what your keywords are and how to synonyms for those and how to utilize and rearrange those. But ultimately, you're going to get some really awesome, credible research when you are doing that. So this is a good thing to know. Another really helpful place to go, especially if you're in English 1010 or 1020, is go to research guides. And then these are arranged by subject. So I'm going to go down to English. And here you see that they actually have some shells for English 1010 and 1020. And so I'll click on those, and some of these may not apply as much to us, but there's a lot of really good information here about, for example, evaluating sources. The Writing Center has a really nice handout for that too. There's some different things here like MLA, APA help. One thing you might be interested in is finding reliable statistics. So if I click here, Statista is probably one of my favorite places for you guys to get statistics because it's pretty easy to search and it spits back at you really easy to read information. It's usually in charts and things like that. That's just very accessible and readable. So if you want to look for statistics, you can find them here. You may want to be thinking about different primary sources that you can incorporate into your piece. For example, maybe you want to do an interview with, let's say you're convincing us to try out a restaurant, and maybe you want to interview the owner of the restaurant. I know that's a little more challenging these days, but maybe you want to interview one of their regulars, someone who goes there all the time. You want to kind of get some extra backup about why this restaurant is so fantastic. You may want to go to a website of the restaurant and go and see maybe the history of the website and how the restaurant got started, and that might compel us also to want to go there. So this is a really good page for you to know. And again, so is the English 1021 when you get into research and argumentative writing next semester. So here, let's go to, actually, let's kind of keep going with our restaurant idea here. So maybe we want to go to a restaurant that we think is fantastic, and here I'm on the history, and maybe I want to incorporate some kind of background about why this restaurant is so amazing. So I might go somewhere like here and incorporate some information that I find here. I may quote from it. I have to be careful about quotes. I don't want to overuse those word for word pieces so that it becomes more of a collection of sound bites and words from other people. Maybe I want to take something from here and put it in my own words. That's called paraphrasing. And I have to be really careful because I have to make sure if I do that, it's truly, truly in my own words. And then also I could summarize from here. So maybe I could take this whole bit of information and condense it into a sentence or two. So that's a website, a section from a website that I might want to cite. Maybe I am, this is another popular Murfreesboro restaurant. Maybe there's a news article on one of my favorite restaurants, and I want to incorporate some information from it so that I can help convince my reader to try out this restaurant. So how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to go to these sources. I'm going to find the information I need, and I'm going to incorporate it into my writing. But I also need to make sure I cite that information. So I've got to figure out how to do that. Another resource for you in order to do this is OWL Purdue. This is a pretty tried and true resource. Most people do highly recommend OWL Purdue, and they have all kinds of different styles that you can utilize, style guides. MLA, of course, is a popular one. You'll use MLA style for things like a lot of your liberal arts classes, your English classes, things like that. You'll also find information about APA. I encourage you, if you haven't tried out APA, I would encourage you to do so and to give it a shot. It's probably one of the most prevalent citation styles used because it just fits a lot of different disciplines, usually the social sciences. So if you're going into, for example, education, something like that, it's really good to know. Chicago style is another one popular, and you can just see from here down that there's a lot of different little bits of information. So I kind of want to just show you that this is really wonderful because it gives you sample papers that you can look at just to see how they're formatted, what they should look like, and it tells you specifically what's supposed to be where. It also guides you through how to include in-text citations. So basically, I have to, when I'm citing a source, I have to let someone know that I got this information from somewhere else. It can occur parenthetically, so at the end of a sentence, in parentheses. Let me show you an example of that. Let's see if we can find one specifically. Here's one right here. And then also you can include the information in the sentence itself, such as according to Jones. Now in APA, APA utilizes dates because dates really matter in APA. So there you can see the date is always incorporated. And this tells you how to do it with quotes and summaries and paraphrases. And then you'll also need to have at the end of your paper, and let me kind of show you this on the sample. This goes for MLA, APA. So all the citation styles are a little bit different. They all include basically the same information, but they are most fitting for their discipline. So again, in APA, dates matter. So if I'm studying about some sort of teaching method, for example, and I'm citing an article from 1996, that potentially is really outdated. So that's why those dates matter, right? It's important that if I'm citing this research about this new teaching method, that, maybe the article I'm citing came from 2015. Okay, that's a little bit better, right, than 1996. MLA, for example, doesn't emphasize dates. It doesn't matter as much for that discipline as much as maybe the author, the person. So if I am researching Beowulf, for example, so it might be a little more acceptable for me to cite an older source, not too old, but it depends how I'm using the source. But those dates are just less important in that particular case. So, all right, so you can see here all the different citations. There's some parenthetical ones. They also incorporate them as part of the sentence in different places. We'll scroll on down. This is a long paper. All right, let's get down to the references page at the bottom. All right, here we go. So at the very end of your document, this is where you're going to include the longer form citation of whatever sources that you utilize in your paper. So in your paper, for example, in APA, you would include the author's last names and the date, sometimes the page number. But at the end, I've got to include the authors, the date, the title of the article, for example, the publication, issue, volume, page numbers, and the DOI. This is an identifier that you use so that people are able to find the article much more easily. Now, there are different ways, though, that you cite all kinds of different things. So, for example, if I'm doing an electronic source, there's a way to cite the web page or the piece of online content. Now, you may not always have, for example, on a web page, a last name, first name type thing. If that's the case, you have to go to the next best thing, maybe a group name. And if that's not there, you go to the title of the page. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can make sure you do this. All right, here's an example of an online news article. So let's say that we were citing this online article. I would cite the author and so on and so forth. So you just have to kind of look for what type of source you're citing, make sure you know what genre it is, and then complete the citation. So make sure that you are incorporating all of this into your assignment. You should refer to your assignment sheet for how much information you should be including from outside sources for this particular project. And I think that that'll put you on the right track so that you can really work towards those rhetorical appeals that we are talking about with this particular project.